Continuing from the previous episode 2155. I didn't expect that girl to have such a terrifying background. Seeing that this piece of heaven and earth that had already collapsed was easily restored to its original state by the divine power of Mira, and the perpetrators were also taken away by him, Xiao Yan sensed that many forces in his body were rapidly recovering under the brilliance of the angel. Couldn't help but speak. However, even though this catastrophe ended with such a dramatic scene, Xiao Yan felt that this incident was extremely unreal until a few minutes later. When I first came to Doudi continent, I happened to rescue a woman, and then with the help of my uncle, the Golden Dragon King, he awakened her, and finally was sent to a special space. Originally it was just a very small thing, but it laid the groundwork for today's decades later. At that time, the Golden Dragon King had said that this girl had a terrifying background and that her achievements in the future would be limitless. Until now, Xiao Yan finally believed it. The girl named Qing Yuan has an extremely terrifying status in the Kingdom of Angels. It was so terrifying that Mira, who was able to make the Guard Archangel personally guard, and the 6th level Strength 7-wing Mira changed her face in an instant. The Queen of Angels, the 4-character divine power still exists. It's finally over. After passing the breath, the Soul Eater and the Demon Emperor looked at each other and smiled bitterly. Unexpectedly, the final outcome was taken by Xiao alone, so he couldn't help but look at Xiao Yan a few more times. This kid actually saved the Angel Queen? The Queen of Angels is the *** of the Angel family. Her words and power are above the entire world, and no one can disobey. This guy seems a little decisive. After a while, Xiao Yan looked at the holy city of the Holy See, which had been restored to its original state, and said in a trembling voice, although that incident was true, doesn't Mila seem too decisive? Come on, you brat is good at being cheap. Angels have special means to detect your breath, so they won't recognize the wrong person. The Soul Eater came to Xiao Yan's side in one fell swoop, slapped Xiao Yan's body, and laughed. The countless powerhouses below are also disturbing one after another, and they cherish the feeling of the rest of their lives after the catastrophe. We have to go. Staying here for too long will attract the powerhouses in the center of the human world, and then it will be troublesome. The Demon Emperor and Lu Yun embraced each other and came to Xiao Yan and said that Lu Yun was successfully rescued, and the Demon Emperor would probably continue his journey to restore his power. Yep, Xiao Yan and the Master of Soul Eater nodded at the same time, saying that they were quite satisfied with the pair in front of them. Peefed. A sound. The Demon Emperor and Lu Yun didn't stop there too much. The Demon Emperor tore them at random, and a time-space wormhole emerged. The two disappeared in an instant. The final victory should be left to Xiao Yan and the others. However, the next time we meet, whether it is Xiao Yan or the Demon Emperor, I am afraid that the strength will change extremely terribly. We have already begun to investigate the matter of the Xiao family. But it's obviously not the time for you to worry about these things now. The Holy See, the branch above Douyin continent, has left, and there is no giant sect on Doudi continent. For you, this place may be a good one. Place. I'm optimistic about you. The Master of Soul Eater took back the Soul Eater talisman, also stood in the void, and headed towards the ghost world. At the last moment, Xiao Yan's voice pointed out a path for Xiao Yan. Congratulations to the teacher. Xiao Yan nodded his head, naturally knowing that these great powers rashly entered the human world territory on the pretext of their own realm, and they were taking a big risk. But keep this kindness in mind. After all, no one will come here without any reason. Xiao Yan, brat. This time, we won. You are the biggest hero of this battle. Jiyu Xingtian, Jiyu Yuan and the others came to Xiao Yan together, and spoke to Xiao Yan with a smile. There was no way to add praise in their voices. If it wasn't for Xiao Yan's fault this time, I'm afraid that the outcome of this battle would be really unpredictable. In the middle stage of the 8-star fighting immortals, Sheng Yan, alchemist, and even the savior of the Angel Queen in the Kingdom of Angels in the Great Thousand Worlds. With so many titles, Xiao Yan's identity has surpassed all the powerhouses here. Many Supreme Elders who were as strong as the Samsara rank also respected Xiao Yan as an opponent of the same rank, and did not dare to underestimate him any longer. Everyone, please come back. The Holy Sea's rule has completely disintegrated today, and the next Doudi continent will be reborn with new vitality, and it will also prosper like never before. Xiao Yan cupped his hands and smiled at the many strong men. As for the unification of the entire Doudi continent, he was not in a hurry. With the shock of this incident, what was needed was only a matter of time. In that case, I'll go back after waiting. The Lord Xiaoyan is very powerful, and he will come to the door to thank him another day. A series of polite voices were cast towards Xiaoyan, and all the strong people left the Holy City one after another. As for the remaining Holy City guards, some archbishops in red clothes of Miller would naturally come to clean up. Let's go too. There should be a lot of things among the 7 ancient clans. We will discuss the affairs of Doudi continent after the end of the matter. Watching the other super sect powerhouses leave, surrounded by ancient clan chiefs and elders, Xiaoyan couldn't help rolling his eyes. Xiaoyan knew their thoughts, but Xiaoyan also had his own abacus in his heart. The fame of Xiaoyan, the owner of the Endless Fire Territory, still needs time to spread, and it just happened to use this incident to shock the entire continent. In 1 month, we will hold another meeting at the Douyin Shrine. As for the purpose of the meeting, I'm sure your kid understands it too? Gu Xingtian spoke slowly, his voice was quite funny. He didn't want to let Xiaoyan go easily. Okay. Xiaoyan nodded and said with a dashing smile. At this point, many strong people have left the Holy City one after another, went back to recuperate, and waited for the Holy Altar meeting in a month. A month later, I am afraid that the rules of Douyin continent will be reformulated, and the so-called rule overlord now has a very clear choice, and now they are scattered, just to rectify their respective forces. Link to www.novelmtl.com in the distance, the edge of Douyin continent. Feng Lao, the location of the Holy See seems to be cloudy, doesn't it? At this time, among the bright traps here, Feng Lao and several strong men walked out quite embarrassed, and looked at the place where the Holy See was in the distance, where the fluctuations had gradually become quiet. No, let's go. When Feng Er heard this, her body suddenly moved as if she had expected something. The continental void was imprisoned, and they could only take some flying beasts to advance, so they wasted a lot of time, and even when they finally stepped into the edge of Douyin continent, they fell into the Pope's light trap and wasted a great opportunity to fight. Wait, the spatial confinement seems to have disappeared? Several strong men behind him murmured instantly. What happened? The void here is intact? When they came to the Holy City, many servants here had already started to pack their bags, and there was a faint trace of the overall movement of the Holy See. I'm afraid the battle is over. Go back to the Endless Fire Territory. Feng Er lowered her eyes with a gleam of light, the void collapsed, and she suddenly returned to the Endless Fire Territory. Please remember the first domain name of this book. Mobile version update fastest URL. Continuing from the previous episode 2156. With the end of the catastrophe in the Holy City, Xiaoyan's deeds will undoubtedly spread in a very short period of time. After all, there are those strong people who have experienced catastrophe, so there is no need for Xiaoyan to worry too much. In a few days, the entire Doudi continent will know about it. On the other side, the headquarters of the Endless Fire Territory is located on the Xuanling Mountain of the Xuanling continent. At this time, the figures are quite busy, and many departments with a clear division of labor operate the entire Endless Fire Territory, and at the same time deliver countless freshness to the Endless Fire Territory. Blood. The main hall. This is a very grand hall in the Endless Fire area. The main hall is a hall for the 2 mistresses to deal with many things in the Endless Fire area on weekdays. It is extremely serious. Here, all the orders are done by the 2 master mothers themselves, and only with their approval can one order after another be carried out. Therefore, for a long time, there has been no flaw in the Endless Fire Territory. No, I have to go take a look. In the empty hall, Kai Lin sat on the golden purple seat, and her icy eyes revealed a strong sense of worry. Obviously, it was too late to look up the letter on the table, and a gorgeous color light appeared on her body. There is a faint trace of wanting to go to Douyin continent. Miss Kaylin. At this time, seeing Kaylin so restless, Mu Yingying held onto her fragrant shoulder with her slender hand, and didn't say much. It was obvious that the 2 of them had the same thoughts. The Holy See is too powerful, they have the strength to rule the entire Doudi continent. Endless Fire Territory is on the right track. Even if I'm not here, with your help, it can still run stably. I have to go this time. The look in Kaylin's eyes is very firm. There has been no news of Xiaoyan for a long time, which makes the reverse scale in her heart fiercely touched. With her control over the endless fire domain for a long time, she naturally knows the relationship between the Holy See and Doudi continent over the entire Doudi continent. Serving sighs. Do not, Miss Kalen. I've already belonged to him, and this time I'll go with you. Let's go. Mu Yingying smiled sweetly. Two flames converged in the icy hall, and a crack in the void emerged, tearing apart the void here. Go. Seeing this, Kalen nodded slightly to him, and immediately the two held hands and stepped towards the void together. Wong buzzing. At the same time, a certain void passage in the hall began to creep strangely, and the golden flames turned into several golden crows, which slowly lit up the place. The dazzling golden flames were extremely dazzling, and it seemed that a figure was about to emerge. This is? Mu Yingying wondered. It seems that this aura is quite good, and there are fluctuations of holy flames in it. Xun Er is out. Kalen closed the crack in the void at will, then held Mu Yingying's jade hand in her palm, quietly looking at the void in the distance. This place has long been linked to the underground palace of endless fire territory, so if Xun Er leaves the customs, she will appear here as soon as possible. Is that Xun Er? At this moment, Mu Yingying couldn't help but lowered her head in shame. For some unknown reason, even her chest began to tremble slightly, as if she was extremely afraid of this figure. Sister Kalen, I haven't seen you for a long time. You are really getting more and more beautiful. Xun Er Ting strolled, walked out of the golden flames, and came to Kalen with a smile, quite happy. The same to you. Kalen's beautiful eyes stretched out, and after Xun Er retreated, her strength was stronger than before. By the way, what about Brother Xiaoyan? Xun Er suddenly remembered something, and hurriedly asked with concern, but Xun Er was keenly aware that the woman behind Kalen seemed to have something else on her mind at this time. And its eyes didn't dare to look at him at all, and vaguely avoided him, as if he was afraid of himself. Xiaoyan has gone to the Holy See now, and we are about to go. Let's go together. Hearing Xun Er say this, Kalen immediately said in a deep voice, and a rare chill appeared in her voice. What's up? Xun Er was startled, as if a bad premonition swept out. The powerhouses of the entire continent have gathered their strength to attack the Holy See, and now they are surrounded by the Holy City. I am afraid the war is imminent. Kalen said so. No, let's go. While speaking, Xun Er couldn't care about other things. Her body trembled, and she hurriedly prepared to step through the void and head towards Doudi continent. As the new generation patriarch of the ancient clan, Xun Er naturally knows a lot about the Holy See, so she also knows that it is completely nonsense to want to overthrow such a giant. By the way, this lady, may I ask? When the three girls were about to leave, Xun Er looked at Mu Yingying and suddenly said something. From the beginning to the end, with Xun Er's understanding of Kalen, this woman must be so close to Kalen. Her status is definitely not low. Stunned. After being asked by Xun Er, Mu Yingying's body instantly froze, standing in a stalemate in midair, looking up at Xun Er who was in the midair. Only then did she see her delicate body. The light and graceful 3,000 blue silks are hanging down, the delicate face, the small and agile face, the moving eyes, and several advantages outline the whole body like a fairy, and can't find any flaws. It is so beautiful. As suffocating. At this time, Xun Er looked at Mu Yingying with beautiful eyes, and found that the latter finally looked at her. She couldn't help but turn her eyes away. How can it be? Seeing this, Xun Er noticed something from Mu Yingying's eyes, and her body shrank like an electric shock. That's right, she is Xiaoyan's third. At this time, Kai Lin could only come forward to explain with a helpless expression. Impossible. When Xun Er saw this, there was a hint of arrogance in her beautiful eyes. With a low roar, the surrounding void suddenly collapsed for several meters, as if it was swallowed up by some mysterious giant in an instant. As a woman, and she was the proud daughter of the giant family on Doudi continent at the beginning, she was very possessive towards Xiaoyan, but the appearance of Kai Lin could only make Xun Er mute to eat Huang Lian. If the love that is divided into two is separated, I am afraid Kaoru will be the first to run wild. Xuanling continent is Xiaoyanchu's first stop to Daqin. Her name is Mu Yingying. The predecessor was a holy flame on the holy flame list. In order to find his brother, he converted to human beings and entered the Xuanling continent. When I met Xiaoyan, all kinds of things happened, and I even sacrificed my life for Xiaoyan in the end. Kaylin walked towards Xun Er step by step like a big sister who was close to her. She comforted her and stimulated her, because this kind of thing would be exposed sooner or later. No, don't say any more. Xun Er was in a very low mood at this time. The corners of her mouth pouted viciously, and a rather terrifying anger emerged. Sister Kaylin, stop talking. I'm going. Seeing Xun Er's arrogant posture, Mu Yingying also pursed her lips, and then walked slightly towards the outside of the hall. Hum. Xun Er raised her slender hand and roared towards a dark shadow in the hall. Tear it off. The shadow was unprepared, and was hit straight, and suddenly a familiar man appeared. Oh, the three queens spare your life. Xiao Yan scratched his head and looked innocently at the three swordsmen in front of him. Sister Xun Er, are you jealous? Seeing the angry Xun Er who kept chasing Xiao Yan in the hall, Mu Yingying covered the corner of her mouth sweetly and said with a smile. Obviously at this moment, both Kaylin and Xun Er acquiesced in their existence, and a long-lost relief and happiness lingered in Mu Yingying's heart. Please remember the first domain name of this book. Mobile version update fastest URL. Continuing from the previous episode 2157. A month later. The next day, the warm sunshine scattered over the soil of the entire Earth. Dozens of super sects and ancient races on the Doudi continent took the lead, and the big figures representing their respective forces hurried out early in the morning and headed towards the Holy See Holy City. And go! In addition, the other three continents above the Doudi continent also have several powerful people with good identities and positions to go to the Holy See Holy City. Of course, in addition to the Doudi continent, the other three continents are above. The powerhouses are almost all under the command of the Endless Fire Territory. Some ordinary people couldn't help but look up and see the looming big figures in the endless void, as if they had a hunch in their hearts, and the next Doudi continent may have a new pattern. But no matter who takes the place of the Holy See, it will bring the entire Doudi continent back to life. Furthermore, the Daqin world is constantly fighting in the dark, and it is extremely unsafe. If this huge Doudi Sifang continent does not have a decent force in charge, it will inevitably be invaded by some other forces that are eyeing for it. Within a month, all the sect forces recovered their vitality, and after the return of the red-clothed Archbishop Miller and Lu Qing, they relied on the angels to leave the entire Holy See, and then they were moved away from the Doudi continent, so the Holy See. Above the city, there are only empty halls. At the same time, this place has now evolved into a very tense meeting place. As for today's theme, I am afraid it is to re-screen out the new hegemonic forces above Doudi continent and use it as a representative of Doudi continent. The seniors of the 7 ancient clans have all arrived. Princess Xingchen from Tianxing continent has also arrived. Representatives of the major super sects have also arrived one after another. In a rather empty conference room inside the Holy City, Xiao Yan sat on the top of the table, and Kaylin looked around and said, as for Mu Yingying and Xun Er, now one represents the ancient clan, and the other represents the endless fire domain. But rather domineering sitting on the side. There are about 100 people in the conference room. These guys are quite fluctuating, and they are all leaders in their respective regions. Being able to enter here is enough to show their status and strength. After all, these guys are now on the Do Emperor continent, of all forces. Since everyone is here, let's start discussing the business. Xiao Yan got up and bowed his hands in a humility to many strong men. Among the 100 people here, apart from Xiao Yan and the 3 women and a few strong men who are quite young, the rest are middle-aged or old people with high morals, so Xiao Yan's move is essential. Xiao Yan's etiquette has made these powerhouses feel good about Xiao Yan. In addition, Xiao Yan is rumored to have an affair with the Kingdom of Angels. This guy with the strength in the middle stage of the 8-star fighting immortals will undoubtedly become the focus of this meeting. I wonder if Brother Xiao Yan has any plans? As Xiao Yan jumped into the theme first, a kind-hearted old man in the conference room said with a smile, with a strong sense of pride in his words. The super sect of Douyin continent, the old monster Yun Fusheng of Yunlin Pavilion, and the late 8-star Do Xian, are not bad. Xiao Yan nodded to the old man, and after a while, the words also filled the air, but this late stage of the 8-star fighting immortals did not pose any threat to Xiao Yan. The 7 ancient clans have acquiesced to the endless fire domain behind them to become the dominant force in the Doudi continent. Now this kind of meeting is naturally held to solve some other dissatisfied forces. However, The ancient 7 clans who were as strong as the reincarnation powerhouse did not say much. In Xiao Yan's opinion, it was too self-righteous. Although Brother Xiao Yan has a close relationship with the Kingdom of Angels, he is too young, so I propose that such a major event should be conducted by voting. Furthermore, among the 7 ancient clans, whether it is the 7 clan chiefs or the supreme elders of their respective clans, I am afraid they are much more authoritative than Brother Xiao Yan. I'm just telling the truth. I hope Brother Xiao Yan will not misunderstand. At the end of the conversation, Yun Fusheng quickly changed his explanation. Hearing this, 100 people quickly looked at it. In the face of this guy's ridicule and doubts, Xiao Yan said with a calm smile, "The Holy See has been destroyed by us, and the shadow of Doudi continent's thousands of years of rule in the Holy See has completely disappeared. But due to the special nature of Doudi continent and the departure of the Holy See, there must be a powerful force to stand up, otherwise this large piece of land will be invaded by other continents in the human world. As for holding such a meeting today, the purpose is also very obvious. The 7 ancient clans have already agreed with my approach. The younger generation respects that all of you here are elders, so I dare to mention it." "What?" Yun Fusheng's heart sank and asked. "Today is the day when my endless fire territory becomes the new overlord of Doudi continent. If you don't agree, you can take action against me. If I lose to anyone here, Xiao Yan will keep silent about this matter. Of course, if you still don't agree after that, then this junior will have to force your entire sect out of Doudi continent." Xiao Yan's eyes became deep, and he stared at Yun Fusheng fiercely, which actually caused him to have a burst of fearful heart palpitations. This guy, hearing Xiao Yan's arrogant voice, the eyes of many strong people present became slightly cold, and they said in a low voice, He, don't worry, everyone. Xiao Yan means to unite all the forces of our entire Doudi continent and put them under the command of the Endless Fire Territory to form a true transcendental force. All of you here are also enjoying the resource sharing of Endless Fire Domain. Help each other when you are in trouble, and Endless Fire Domain will not interfere with your sect location and internal affairs. Of course, if you don't agree, I'm afraid you can only use coercion. Please leave the Dou Emperor continent. After all, from today onwards, this continent will use the Endless Fire Territory as the only external propaganda force. At the same time, Jiyu Yuan and other ancient clan chiefs behind Xiao Yan stood up gently and laughed together. Since that's the case, let's go under the command of Endless Fire Territory. The 7 ancient clans, let you be dispatched by the Endless Fire Domain. 4 Shangzong, join us together. Quote. Looking at the 7 ancient clans taking the lead, the powerhouses behind them waited, and there was not much hesitation. One after another, the powerhouses expressed their opinions and agreed with the theme of this meeting. Forming a force was an imminent matter, but what they were most worried about was that the Endless Fire Territory would interfere in the internal affairs of their sect. With Xiao Yan's statement, they were also relieved to join it. Immediately, this meeting went unexpectedly smoothly. Even if there were a few sects' worries, they were resolved neatly after the respite. With the injection of the power of these guys, the development of the Endless Fire Territory will grow exponentially. I am afraid that the power of the Endless Fire Territory will approach the Holy See or even surpass the Holy See soon. Please remember the first domain name of this book. Mobile version update fastest URL. Continuing from the previous episode 2158. After the unification of the Endless Fire Territory had passed, the entire Doudi continent had an unprecedented unity, the resources of the 4 continents were shared, and the strength and resources of the other 3 continents were also rapidly chasing after the Douyin continent. In the past, because of the Holy See and the Douyin continent, resources were relatively concentrated, and the other 3 continents were more barren than each other. Now, under the rule of the Endless Fire Territory, the resources of the 4 continents are vaguely distributed evenly. It is the construction of several space channels, whether it is used to support rescue or the transmission of resource information, it has become extremely prosperous and simple. The name of Xiao Yan, the owner of the Endless Fire Territory, has become a household name in the Doudi continent. After all, after this union, all the forces have received the resources and help of the Endless Fire Territory, so they have a high opinion. These resources are drawn from the ancient races, but they also enjoy it. After all, these old guys are naturally very clear about the reason why a big tree can enjoy the shade. Nowadays, the most discussed are the three mistresses in the Endless Fire Territory, because after the unification of the Doudi continent, the Endless Fire Territory is worked by the three mistresses all day long, regardless of their strength, appearance or form, have won the respect of countless people. In contrast, the domain owner Xiao Yan has evaporated like the human world, and did not appear in the Endless Fire domain. As for the many treasures in the Holy See, they were taken away by Miller and Lu Qing and left here. After the catastrophe of the Holy See, the two have no face to see Xiao Yan. In the forbidden area of the medicine tribe, this is a valley full of emerald green. In the valley, the fragrance of birds and flowers, one after another, is full of rich life breath, lingering out. Xiao Yan was slowly closing his eyes and resting in the center of the valley with a slightly raised plateau. When he swallowed and inhaled, a rather mysterious soul force swept out, which seemed rather mysterious. Beside him, an old-fashioned old man sat quietly. Yao Tianmo, the supreme elder of the medicine clan, is an 8th-rank alchemist of the Holy Order. Well, the breath is almost conditioned. In addition to the soul power that you have already stepped into the void transformation realm, you can now directly attack the 8th-grade Holy Pharmacist. Yao Tianmo looked at Xiao Yan with admiration and smiled lovingly. In the 10 days after the meeting, after Xiao Yan had appeased the three women, he handed over many matters of the Endless Fire Territory to the three women. Instead, he joined the Yao clan and concentrated on listening to Yao Tianmo. With the guidance, prepare to realize your own path to the 8th grade of the Holy Order. In 10 days, Yao Tianmo has explained everything to himself in detail, and now he has a lot of experience. Several powers have returned to their peak positions, and Yao Tianmo is by his side, which is naturally an excellent shock time. Saint rank 8th grade pharmacists are no ordinary pharmacists, but they are comparable to those of ordinary pharmacists. Even with the lowest medicinal materials, we can make a real magic medicine in our hands, but the cumbersome process discourages many pharmacists. Precious medicinal materials are naturally the best prerequisite for refining holy pills. At the time of your breakthrough, you must use your own soul power to comprehend the heaven and the earth, and capture the ethereal breath of the Holy Soul between the heaven and the earth. Only after passing through the thunder tribulation can you completely break away from the holy rank. Before the breakthrough, even if you are talented, you can't refine holy pills without using any borrowing methods. Yao Tianmo laughed. Well, this junior knows. Xiao Yan nodded. The medicinal pill that he had refined had already been given to Kalin, but Xiao Yan knew that the success of refining in that medicinal clan ceremony was a coincidence. Extremely difficult to succeed. Less than the 8th rank of the holy rank, it is impossible to refine the holy elixir. Let's start. I will protect the law for you. Yao Tianmo waved his big hand, and the thick green energy was like a liquid, completely sealing the valley of the forbidden area of the Yao family. Wang buzzing. Immediately, Xiao Yan closed his eyes, and the spiritual palace in his body suddenly wriggled. Countless soul energies surged up, and the powerful soul power caused the entire valley to tremble slightly. The ground shook and the mountains shook, which was quite shocking. It's really an out-and-out little monster. It seems that every one of the descendants of the Xiao family is so terrifying. It was really a pity back then. Many elders in the clan were pedantic, so they didn't follow the Xiao clan across the world. Even if the Doudi continent is the top-ranked continent in the human world, it is not the top after all. Sigh. Seeing Xiao Yan like this, Yao Tianmo smiled helplessly. His voice was full of vicissitudes. Whoa! With Yao Tianmo's guidance, Xiao Yan's breakthrough to the 8th rank of the Holy Order was only a matter of course. On the other side, on Xuanling Mountain, the base camp of the Endless Fire Territory, Xiao Zifan, Mufeng and others sat here quietly, handling many things for the Endless Fire Territory, but these guys are obviously hidden by the Endless Fire Territory, and they will not show it easily. Otherwise, the descendants of Xiao Zifan and the descendants of the Xiao clan, as well as the fire of Luo Menglan's holy flame, may cause a lot of troubles. But I have to say that the 36 sacred flames that are extremely precious in the Great Thousand World are probably close to 10, which is extremely terrifying. The entire Doudi continent is in good weather, and the country is peaceful and peaceful. In the distance, Douyin continent's Soul Clan's Soul Realm. Buzz. The head of the Soul Clan, Han Tianhao, is stationed here. The guards here are heavily guarded, and the void in the inner house wriggles slightly, and the figure of Han Tianhao emerges. Hoo, it's not a bad thing after all. Han Tianhao just returned to his station, looked around, and repeatedly checked that there was no suspicious atmosphere in his house. With a wave of his hand, a gloomy ghost barrier completely enveloped the house. After doing all this, Han Tianhao just flicked his fingers, and suddenly 4 icy cold bodies appeared on the ground. Above the 4 icy bodies, there is already no vital temperature, but it is not difficult to find out that the fluctuations on their bodies are not bad. Not only have the strength of the 8-star fighting immortals, but even one person has reached the strength of reincarnation, and if the elders of the ancient races are here, they will find their identities. The 4 masters of the Doudi continent. That guy from Heavenly Emperor, I'm afraid he is too busy with the extraterritorial evil clan now, so he doesn't have time to manage these things. I'm really willing to send the guardians of the 4 planes of Doudi continent. While speaking, a milky white flame slowly emerged from his fingertips, and then easily wrapped around the 4 corpses. At that time, the void burst open, and terrifying power swept out, extremely mysterious. Peefed! The milky white flame just touched the corpse, and the 4 corpses immediately evaporated and disappeared. Even the corpses of the reincarnation powerhouses disappeared in an instant. The milky white flames had a faint aura of gods rising, and that kind of breath made people feel suffocation is definitely not reincarnation. No, Xiaoyan's strength still can't touch the top of this world. It seems that I have to put some pressure on him. Haha, killing the 4 of them at will. A strange smile appeared on the corner of Han Tianhao's mouth. The gloomy aura was not proportional to the milky white flame, but this kind of power, even a demon emperor, probably wouldn't be able to detect it. The day the Xiao clan appeared, the time of the great catastrophe. Hurry up! The elegant and confident voice fell slightly, and it was quiet here, but the milky white flame that flickered in this guy's body may have an extraordinary origin. Please remember the first domain name of this book. Mobile version update fastest URL. Continuing from the previous episode 2159. The time of January passed quietly. During this period, the development of the Endless Fire Territory can be said to have increased exponentially. The Palace of the Mother of the Endless Fire Territory. Now there is still no news about Senior Zhukan. From the perspective of Soul Jade, life should be fine, but the specific traces are. Xiao Yan sat on the table above the hall and muttered. After secretly breaking through the holy rank alchemist in the medicine clan, he quietly returned to the Endless Fire domain. The 3 girls today have long since formed a common battle line, and their respective thoughts have probably been almost merged. At the same time, standing not far from Xiao Yan, their expressions are complicated. Xun Er devoured the Phoenix Nirvana pill, and the power in her body was vaguely related to the Phoenix family. With the power of the reincarnation seal, her power was already increasing rapidly, and it was only a matter of time before she stepped into the reincarnation, and because of the Phoenix Nirvana pill. Because of this, I am afraid that I will need to go to the Phoenix clan in the future. As for Kalen, it devoured the Celestial Soul Transformation pill, speeding up the fusion of the power of the 10-colored blood in the body. After the fusion, the center of the demon world must be visited, but there is obviously still some distance from that time. As for Mu Yingying, relying on Fenju and 2 kinds of holy flames, plus the many benefits of her holy flames being transformed into human beings, her cultivation is also 1,000 miles away, which is quite shocking. Senior Zhu Kun should be related to the Dragon Clan. Xun Er nodded sweetly, and with the power of the reincarnation seal, she vaguely knew something vague. Next, send someone out to investigate the Fire Elves, the Phoenix Clan, and the Dragon Clan in the Great Thousand World. Soon, when I break through the cycle of reincarnation, I may go to the underworld. Xiao Yan nodded solemnly. Reincarnation. But reincarnation is quite difficult. Without great fortune and opportunity, I'm afraid. And the danger level of the underworld, to a certain extent, far exceeds that of any place in the world. Xun Er couldn't help shaking her head, her expression full of worry. Don't worry, I have my own countermeasures. Xiao Yan said with a smile. After all, he has the power of the devil and the Xiao clan mark, and with the company of Feng Weiner and Xiao Xifen, he can go to the underworld to find the traces of the disappearing Xiao clan with some confidence. In another year, the once-in-a-100-year plane meeting in the Great Thousand World will be held in the void space. At that time, there may be traces of the medicinal materials that you need 3rd on the Holy Flame list. As for other matters, I will send a special person to inquire about the information. Once there is any news, I will tell you as soon as possible. Kalen nodded and said, he knew that Xiao Yan now has a heavier burden on his shoulders than when he was on the Doudi continent. After the rest, the atmosphere here suddenly became harmonious. The three girls were discussing some little secrets, but Xiao Yan was the only one who put them aside. Quote. Listening to the little secrets being discussed by the three girls and completely ignoring him, Xiao Yan couldn't help but have black lines all over his head. It seems that the revolution has not yet succeeded, and comrades still need to work hard. Domain Lord, 3 mistresses. The soul of the Soul Clan, Tianhao, is asking for an interview in the hall. It seems that there is something important. After a while, the door of the main hall was pushed open, and Mu Feng walked in and said with a smile, Soul Tianhao? When Xiao Yan heard this, his face was dumbfounded, but the Soul Clan had a pretty good reputation among the ancient races and even the Doyan continent. The Soul Clan and Soul Palace here are two extremes, not like the one in the Doudi continent. Go. After speaking, the 5 of them walked towards the hall together. The Lord of the Domain has not been seen for a month. It seems to have become a little mysterious again? Han Tianhao's gentle face, although a gloomy meaning emerges from time to time, but overall there is not much weirdness. It's just a fluke that I broke through the holy pharmacist. Regarding this matter, Xiao Yan was not prepared to hide it any longer. The two looked at each other and said that it would be a good choice to spread this matter through Han Tianhao and increase the cohesion of the Endless Fire territory. The prestige possessed by the 8th rank holy pharmacist is comparable to that of a reincarnation expert. Congratulations. Next, I'll first wish the Domain Master's magic skill in refining medicine. But there is one thing. I am afraid I need to report to the domain owner as soon as possible. Please make an early decision. Han Tianhao's expression was surprised and joyful at first, but then instantly became solemn and said sternly, What's the matter? Seeing Han Tianhao's serious expression, Xiao Yan couldn't help asking. Lord Domain Master should know that our Soul Clan controls the most complete intelligence network in the entire Doudi continent. Originally, I was going to hand over all the information to Endless Fire Domain Management when I came here this time, but in the middle of the journey, I found it a rather bizarre thing. Soul Tianhao said to himself. Oh, a weird thing? Senior Soul, but it doesn't matter. When Xiao Yan heard this, he became slightly curious. My lord, it should have originated from the origin of our ancient race, the Doudi continent, and was promoted with amazing strength, right? Soul Tianhao muttered. Yep. After Han Tianhao finished speaking, Xiao Yan and the 3 daughters cast their eyes on him together. There were only a few people who knew about this matter, and they couldn't help but wonder about this guy. According to the information I have collected, the evil tribes outside the territory are eyeing the tigers, and the powerhouses in the center of the human world are exhausted, coping with the tentative attacks of the evil tribes outside the territory emerging from all over the world, so they will neglect some places. The strong man of our clan guarding the edge of the plain received a slight call about the Doudi continent last night. That call seems to be a distress signal. Soul Tianhao's voice fell, and the atmosphere in the hall instantly solidified. A distress signal from Doudi continent? Senior Soul, is there any way for me to step into the Doudi continent? When Xiao Yan heard this, his tone suddenly became heavy. The space channel connecting the Doudi continent to the upper plane has been destroyed, and now we can only rebuild a new space channel. Even if there is a reincarnation powerhouse in our Endless Fire territory, it is expected to take at least 10 days. And because of the limitations of the plane, those above the Do Emperor can only step into the Doudi continent for 10 days, and they will be squeezed out, and the reincarnation level cannot go down. Of course, there are also some rare immortal artifacts that can ignore the rules and step into the Doudi continent with the power of reincarnation. It's a pity that such things are too hard to find. If you want to break the rules, I am afraid you have to go through the cycle and become the Supreme Being. We can gather the power of the Endless Fire territory to jointly build a space channel, and it will take 5 days. But in that case, only the powerhouses whose strength is lower than the 8-star Dushan Perfection powerhouse can step into the Doudi continent and touch the Doudi continent. Not even reincarnators. Go ahead, we will return to Doudi continent in 5 days. Xiao Yan's voice fell, and the entire hall became silent. My subordinates will do it immediately. After Han Tianhao finished speaking, he also left nervously. Strange, this Seoul Tianhao's breath always makes me stunned. Get ready. Return to Doudi continent in 5 days. Xiao Yan said to the two women beside him. Yep, I don't know what Xiao Xiao and Xiao Lin are like now. As they spoke, Xun Er and Kaylin's eyes softened, and even their jade fists clenched slightly, and an indescribable worry filled the air. Decades have passed since the 5 emperors broke the sky, and now they can finally return to the Doudi continent and let the love of motherhood in the hearts of these two mistresses overflow. 5 days later, I was finally able to return to Doudi continent. I saw my former friends, my former sons and daughters, and my descendants. For a while, my mind became tense. Please remember the first domain name of this book. Mobile version update fastest URL.